Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Haugen. Today we're going to work on lesson 8 in our blue math packet. So go ahead and make sure you have your blue math packet out and that you've turned it to lesson 8. If you notice, the target that we're working on today is creating arrays. And before we actually get started, there's something I need you to do in your packet. I want you to go down to number 2 and I want you to draw one more column line. And you'll see why later, but right now I need you to go down to number 2 and draw one more column line, okay? Now, let's go ahead and look at number 1 and get started. The first part says, create an array with the squares. Well, they're just a jumbled mess. So the first thing I need to do is figure out how many squares I'm actually working with. So a great way to do this is to count and mark them off as you're counting. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are working with 10 squares. Now when I draw the array, I know that I have to draw an equal number on each row. So if I can't just think about how many needs to be there, then the best way to do this is to give each row a square until I run out of 10. So there's 1, 2, go ahead and write this on yours, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And like always, if I end up going too quickly, just pause the video and come back when you're ready. So here's my array with my 10 squares. Remember, 10 is the total number of squares that I'm drawing. I'm not drawing 10 on the top and 10 on the bottom. I'm only drawing 10 total. So there's my array, 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, and 5 plus 5 equals my 10 total squares. Now number 2 says, create an array with the squares from the set above. So I have a total of 10. Now the reason I had you add this extra line is because the packet wants you to do this a little bit differently. I like to draw the squares on the lines and they want you to draw them in between, and I think that gets a little confusing. So we added one more line to make up for the fact that they want you to draw them in between. So now it will work out correctly. So again, I'm drawing a total number of 10 squares. So I will start by giving each column a square until I run out. So go ahead and do this on your packet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there is my 10 total squares. Remember, I can't draw any more than 10. That's all I'm allowed to draw. So number 3 says, use the array of squares to answer the questions below. So we're going to use this picture they drew us here. A says, there are blank squares in each row. Well, remember, rows go sideways. And I know there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares in the top row and 5 squares in the bottom row. So because I have 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, my repeated number here is simply 5. And you all know that 5 plus 5 equals 10. Letter C says there are blank squares in each column. Well, I'm going to change my color here. When I'm looking at columns, I'm looking at this. How many squares are in each column? Well, hopefully you said 2, which means my new repeated number is 2. 2 right here, plus 2 right here, plus 2, and that's these here, and then 2 more, and that's these 2, and 2 more, that's my last 2. So when I count those, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, remember, because I'm not changing the total, my answer here should always be 10. Okay? Boys and girls, let's look at the next page here, and we're going to do one more together. Number 4 says, use the array of squares to answer the questions below. So again, we're looking at this array, excuse me, and we'll answer the questions here. A says, there are blank squares in one row. Well, again, rows go sideways, so I can see there are 3 squares in one row. So go ahead and write that down while I change colors. The next one says, there are blank squares in one column. Well, remember, columns go this way. So how many squares are there in one column? Hopefully you said 4. Okay. Now, I have 3 spots here. I need to figure out which number, 3 or 4, repeats 3 times. Well, if I look at the rows, I actually have 4 of those. And I'm not looking for 4 repeated numbers. I'm only looking for 3. And if I look at these columns, there's 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. So the number that's repeated 3 times is the number 4. 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals my new total of 12. So what I did here was 3 columns of 4 is the same as, let me change again. How many rows? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And how many in each row? Right, 3. And either way you look at this, as rows or as columns, my total is still 12. So those of you kiddos who like multiplication know that this is how we will write this. If I say 3 columns of 4 equals 12, or I could say 4 rows of 3 equals 12. Again, I did not change the total. I just rearranged how I was looking at the squares. Boys and girls, your next job is to go back into your ClassKick and to complete the first page of your homework. Talk to you soon.